Welcome to Heaping Spoonful, a twice-monthly conversation with restaurateurs, chefs, growers, and others who have helped generate the legends associated with eateries across the Mid-South. The team at Benny Keith is proud to sponsor this adventure with the goal of preserving the stories that have helped cultivate an amazing food scene across the Mid-South. So kick back and enjoy a Heaping Spoonful.
Hello, everybody out there in podcast land. Welcome to Heaping Spoonful. I am Kelly Bass, your host, and I appreciate Benny Keith Foods giving me the opportunity to visit twice a month with chefs and restaurateurs who help make the Mid-South dining scene one of the highlights of living in this great part of the country. Almost 4 years ago, I transitioned to podcast interview. I spent, decades being a restaurant reviewer for a couple of Little Rock, Arkansas-based newspapers and magazines. Had a few other real jobs in between, and been doing this again for about 4 years. So I will tell you what, talking about food is a lot more fun than writing about it. So our guest today on Heaping Spoonful is Coby Smith. He's the executive chef at CARTI. If you're from around here, you know what CARTI is. But if you're not, let me tell you, CARTI is an independent, not-for-profit cancer care provider, and they treat more than 35,000 patients each year from every county in Arkansas and from all across the country. So welcome to Heaping Spoonful, Coby.
Hey, it's great to be here.
Glad you took the time to come visit with us. We'll talk more in a bit about how you got interested in cooking and therefore restaurants. But let's start with a discussion of where you are now. So you're at the Hope Bistro at CARTI, which is, a cancer treatment facility, and this is on John Barrow Road in Little Rock. So stereotypes, I'm sure you've talked about and thought about this a lot. Stereotypes would tell us that medical care facility and executive chef aren't terms that most people would put together. But you have made quite a career out of being a chef at hospitals and senior facilities and other non-healthcare related places, but more recently. How do you tell people, why they should not jump to the conclusion that hospital food means food that's not good?
Well, I think I'm really lucky because I get to write my own menus. I get to cook what I want to cook. And so just having that freedom to be creative, which in hospitals really doesn't really occur a whole lot. And so I cook what I like and try to make people happy with it. Yeah,
well, that is a lot of leeway. The press announcement, it's been a few years now, about your hiring at CARTI and the opening of Hope Bistro said that your restaurant will, quote, feature a variety of high-quality food offerings that will foster health and healing, and that the menu will feature fresh, delicious foods known to reduce the risk of cancer. So tell us about how what your team cooks and the menu that you devise. I mean, clearly it aligns with those concepts.
Yeah, and it's evolved over the years. What I've learned is, cooking for cancer patients and stuff. A lot of it's just calories,
right?
And stuff that they can enjoy because they lose a lot of their ability to taste going through different treatments. But the majority of the people I cook for is really the employees.
Okay. Right.
And so, I write menus every week, so every day is different. I don't have, of course we have our favorites that people request a lot. But I write a menu every Wednesday and execute it the next Monday. And so every day is different. We offer an entree of the day and a sandwich of the day, and then we have some grab and go items. So we get to experiment all the time, and we do something that doesn't work out the way we exactly planned it, and then so the next time we do it, we'll tweak it and
sure.
and hopefully make it better.
Right. And so I guess also your customers, as you said, are patients, their families, and those who are with them there, and your employees. Are there, when you talked about things that are popular, what are some of the ones the entrees that are like, hey, bring that back, please?
I mean, it's kind of embarrassing, but probably the most popular would be taco salad.
Yeah, hard to go wrong.
I mean, I'm telling you. I do steak sandwiches. I still do fried catfish, but we also get fresh salmon flown in,
right?
And so it's the biggest variety that you could ever imagine.
Yeah, that's really cool. And again, sometimes, like I say, people don't think that food in a hospital or a healthcare facility is going to be good. And sometimes when you hear healthy, that's a little bit scary too. But again, you're able to do things that fit in that genre or that description that are still tasty. So, we hope we have listeners around the country and maybe around the world, maybe on other planets. But those who are familiar with the Central Arkansas dining scene and have been for a while, they likely got to know you when you were executive chef at another healthcare facility, which was Arkansas Heart Hospital. Mm-hmm. Was your mission there pretty similar to what you're doing here? I mean, cooking for patients and families and visitors and employees?
It was. The Heart Hospital was just a whole totally different animal, I think.
Size-wise? or
Size-wise, you do breakfast, lunch, and dinner for patients every day, whereas
they're not overnight patients at CARTI.
Correct.
Okay, so that changes. I see.
It does. So it makes a big difference. And the staff's a lot smaller, so for me, it's a lot more hands-on.
Yeah.
Day to day. But different animal. But yeah, I got a little notoriety there at the hospital, and tried to make the most of it.
Yeah, well, again, I remember, and I was just talking to somebody at an event at a hospitality association event. Night before last, and night before last, and I was mentioning we were doing the podcast. Like, oh, I used to drive out to the Heart Hospital to have ramen. I mean, and when did you know when you whipped that out that it was going to become the big deal that it became?
I really had no idea.
Yeah,
no clue. We did make a really good product, and it just exploded overnight.
That's fun though.
It was fun.
Yeah,
it was a tremendous amount of work went into it. But yeah, we had. There'd be days I'd have 300 people just lined out the door just to come have some ramen.
Yeah, that's to give people, because again, when I think of ramen, I think of pot pies, I think of what were people buying in college for $0.25 that they could fill their stomachs with, and they didn't have any money. So we know what a ramen pack that's sitting in the store looks like. Tell us how you make ramen. What is ramen?
So mainly it's just a really thick, gelatinous pork broth. I used fresh noodles, so that made a little difference. You didn't have the dried stuff.
Right.
You cooked it similar to any kind of noodle that you do. And then we just get really creative about toppings and changing it up. And I think part of the appeal was you never really knew what kind of ramen you were going to get when you came in.
Right.
So we did very little social media. We would honestly just post what we were going to serve that day an hour before it was time to eat.
And then people showed up.
Yeah, and they would.
Do you ever do ramen at CARTI?
I do. I didn't do it for probably 3 years. Just and when I was hired, we kind of decided like that's not going to be our thing.
Yeah.
But I'm probably known more as the ramen guy than Chef Coby.
Right.
And they may not even know who I am, but they hear ramen and they can kind of figure it out. But so I kind of do it here maybe once a month nowadays. And it doesn't have the following like it did, and I'm okay with that.
Sure, you don't need to be trying to feed the folks who are expecting to get to eat and have a bunch of interlopers from outside lined up out the door to keep them from it.
Well, I don't mind people coming in. I love it, but it does kind of take away from the experience when there's just so many people that are like me fighting to try to get a bowl of ramen.
I know. Well, it's good to be hot no matter what you're doing. Well, I will tell you, this event was the closing of the Hospitality Association convention, and it was out on the grounds of the old State House. And Chef Jamie McAfee, who's been a Heaping Spoonful guest and is at Pine Bluff Country Club, did a bunch of different meats and things. But Saracen Casino was there, and they had ramen. Mm-hmm. So that's how the conversation about ramen came up. And they're like, oh, I used to go out to the Heart Hospital. So I guess they need to keep an eye on, because the public can eat at CARTI.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We're kind of hidden back in the back, but we have a great patio, like big waterfall.
Cool.
It's got a garden back there. I don't know. There's some great patios in Little Rock, but like ours is like hidden and like nobody knows about it. And we've got this huge waterfall, trees and tables. It's really
That sounds great.
Really cool.
Well, and for folks who are in the Central Arkansas area, the CARTI is just right off of 630. It's just easy to find. You head south off of on the John Barrow Road exit, and it's going to be right there on your left.
Right.
If you go a little bit farther, you might end up at Sam's Barbecue, which is not the worst thing could ever happen to you, too.
I mean, there's many days I've treated my teammates to some good ribs.
Y'all have eaten each other's cooking enough times. That's true. So I saw again in the announcement when you went to CARTI, and again that's been a few years ago.
That's been 4 years.
Yeah, you were featured on CBS this morning. I'm sure that was all about the ramen phenomenon.
It was, yeah. That kind of that's really when it exploded.
What's when it got that publicity?
Yeah.
You never realized. I mean, national TV is national TV, and I'm sure you heard from people you've known from all over about. Wow, here you are.
Oh, it's incredible.
That is cool. All right, everybody, I appreciate you listening to this episode of The Heaping Spoonful with our guest, Coby Smith, who's executive chef at CARTI, a cancer treatment center that is based in Little Rock, Arkansas. So hang on, and we'll be right back.
I hope you're enjoying this episode of Heaping Spoonful. We at Benny Keith Foods enjoy talking about the food scene almost as much as we enjoy providing the top quality ingredients that help restaurateurs and chefs across the Mid-South create their magic. Now let's dive even deeper into the culinary world with your host, Kelly Bass.
Welcome back to Heaping Spoonful in our conversation with Coby Smith. Before you came to the Heart Hospital, you served 6 years as executive chef. Again, the theme of healthcare at Fox Ridge, which again doesn't just bill itself as a retirement community, but rather a luxury retirement community. I've had friends, and I know there's more than one location. There's one on Chenal that I'm familiar with, and I think there's one in Saline County, maybe more, but it's a nice place, and I'm sure they wanted to eat well. So again, you brought non-healthcare experience from working in restaurants, and you rolled in there, and again, you just ran it like a restaurant with good food and wrote menus and served those folks just like they were your walk-in customers, I guess.
Yeah, the Fox Ridge thing just kind of came up. When you knock around restaurants for 10, 15 years and you work late every night, and then you go and have a few cocktails afterwards, it really it gets old and it wears on you. So I had that opportunity to come up, and I took it. I jumped on it. I didn't really know what to expect for a while, but I kind of the same thing I do now is write menus every week. And I think about it sometimes. Like I've written a new menu every week for roughly the last 16, 17 years.
Yeah.
And some days it just comes out like I can write a menu in 5 minutes, and sometimes it may take me, 20 hours just sitting in front of a computer.
Figuring out what you want to do.
Yeah, so you try to, I look for inspiration in different places. And but yeah, the Fox Ridge thing was cool. You get to really get to know your clientele.
Sure.
Everybody likes something different. I can remember making, chicken and dumplings. Just think something just as southern, as simple as you can be. But you have, 100 people that have different upbringings and, all that. Everybody's
grandmother made it different.
And I don't care how good a cook you are, how many Michelin stars. It doesn't matter. You're not going to make every one of them happy.
No,
because you didn't do it like their mama did it. You do it like their dad did it.
I mean, let's think about cornbread. Has it got sugar? It doesn't have sugar. Mine has no sugar, but there's the sugar people. So chicken and dumplings, sometimes they look like biscuits. Sometimes like strawberry shortcake. I mean, sometimes it's like just a pastry type thing. Sometimes it's a big old cake.
You said pastry, but chocolate cream pie. Is it meringue or is it cream?
Yeah.
Whipped cream. So, it's just, it's unbelievable how that's when I really, my skin got really thick, because I could go and just really, this dish is incredible, and then you take it out to somebody, and they would tell you this is gross. And then you get to learning like they're on medicine, and it affects how they taste, and it really helped me grow as a chef.
But and I've talked to many folks in these conversations on Heaping Spoonful about folks who've found a way to not have to be in a kitchen on Friday night at 11 o'clock at night, cleaning up. And so you go to Fox Ridge, and I mean, I'm old, so I can talk about eating early, but it ain't like you're serving dinner at 8:30, you know. So,
Oh yeah, I mean,
they can get out of there and have a real life. You know, you got kids, and
that's right.
Yeah. And clearly, with breakfast and lunch at CARTI, that's exactly what you can do.
Oh, absolutely, it's great.
So now let's look back to the pre-hospital, pre-retirement community, Coby. Again, I've said this multiple times on Heaping Spoonful that the internet is a podcast researcher's friend.
I bet.
Yeah, you go find information about folks that you don't have to, you know what you're talking about a little bit. And if I read it right, your first food service job was working with your brother in a burger restaurant when you were 12. Now, was it did he own it, run it, or was he working there?
So the story is, so my oldest, I've got two big brothers, Clay and Jamie. And so my oldest brother's Jamie. He's 10 years older. He played football at Arkansas State. Yeah. He married a girl, and her brother is Tommy Hilburn, who owns Corky's.
I know Tommy.
Yeah. So they went into business together, and they opened up Backyard Burger.
Oh, cool.
And so I was...
Good burger.
It is good burger.
Yeah.
And so I was like 12, and my first job in the food business was I cleaned the dumpster every Saturday morning.
Oh, boy.
Like,
you started with the glorious spot.
Yeah. So I would make $13, and he'd write me a check for $13. It was like $12.75, and the general manager to round it up. So I thought it was awesome.
Hey, when you're 12 years old, $13 is pretty sweet.
And so I every Saturday, and the moment I turned 14, like, you're in here. Like,
yeah, when you're legally able to be on the payroll.
Yes, and I had to work cash register, and I really wanted to work the grill. Like that was the pinnacle of Backyard Burgers, to be on the grill.
Sure.
And so I did that all through high school.
Yeah. And at that point, though, was it still just this is a job, or did you think, hey, man, I could be a restaurant guy?
I don't know. I knew I liked it. I loved to cook, and even like more further, like my dad, had a family farm in Woodson. So like every Saturday growing up, you're at the farm. Yeah. And catfish fries and steak dinner. So food was always kind of central of my life. So I had no idea what I wanted to be when I was, graduated, high school and stuff. And
you went to ASU?
Well, I started out at UCA, and then kind of, that's how sometimes that doesn't work out the way you
when you get a little farther away from home, sometimes it gets a little squirrely.
And so by that time, Tommy and my brother, they had sold Backyard Burgers, and so it was about 19 or so, and Tommy had opened up Corky's over in West Little Rock. Yeah. And so...
Still there, going strong.
I mean, I'm telling you. And I think I showed up. He's like, you can wait tables. Like, okay, well, that sounds cool. I don't know if I can do it. And then I started making all this. I'm 19 years old. I'm making...
People are tipping.
I mean, oh, my gosh, I'm rich.
Yeah.
And so I did that for a few years. And then I was like, I need to get back to school. I don't want to do this forever. And moved to Jonesboro. And
where did you grow up? Was it close to Jonesboro?
I grew up in North Little Rock.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, I'm Dogtown.
That's right. You told me that earlier. It just happens that your brother went there and then you went there.
Yes, yeah. And so, started waiting tables again, because that's, easiest money, really. Sure. Most bang, it's not easy by any means, but the most bang for your buck, really. And I was at the Jonesboro Country Club. Met this guy named Shane Henderson. He and I became kind of friends.
Awesome. He's the corporate chef at Benny Keith, where we're sitting right now.
So he and I was waiting tables, and he was cooking, and then another Benny Keith guy was Chef Eugene McCann, who works for Benny Keith now. And so he was the chef there. And like at that point in my life, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I liked being there. I liked watching them. And so I think one day I just packed up all my stuff, and I wanted to go to culinary school, but I didn't know how. I didn't know if it was a thing. I didn't know anything about Little Rock, really. I had no idea. I remember opening up the telephone book, and I looked up culinary school, and I was like, holy shit. Yeah. There's a culinary school here in Little Rock. Yeah. And so I packed up my stuff probably that week and drove back, moved back to Little Rock, and enrolled at the American Culinary Federation School of Apprenticeship over there.
Todd Gold.
Yeah. Todd was there, for sure.
Yeah. And that morphed into what came to Pulaski Tech later.
It did, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I knew it. You can tell it's been a while because you said phone book and you looked up culinary school.
Yeah.
You just get on the internet now. So there you went and learned your chops. So where did you head after that? Because I saw a list of some fairly well-known spots that you worked in Little Rock before you got, I guess, the first one we've talked about. Really,
I had waiting tables here and there, and then I knew a guy that was a general manager of a little Cajun restaurant downtown, and started working there. I was in culinary school. And
which one was that?
Originally it was Fat Tuesdays, but then it was Tuesdays USA.
Okay.
It was 801 West Markham, kind of corner from.
I know where it is. Down past the police station. So.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, I know.
There's been other restaurants there.
Yeah, and I think it was.
Originally, the building's
it's a really cool
150
building.
years old. It used to be like a
2-story place.
Yeah, so we had a bar upstairs.
Yeah, I used to go there.
And so chef was there, and he was from New Orleans, and so I just immersed myself at that point, and just tried to learn everything I could.
Yeah.
And from there, I met this guy who was also from North Little Rock, and Chef Rob Best, and I went to high school with his son and daughter, and I started working for him. And
he's a legend.
I mean, he's like Shane. Shane and I worked with Shane worked with him also, but he's my culinary father.
Yes.
He's my culinary father figure, and I look at there's not a chef that I've ever worked for that I don't admire more than him. I still tell stories to the people that work for me that he told me.
Yes.
I mean, it's just really cool.
Yeah, well, those who Rob Best had simply the best catering, but then he also had the restaurant and the art center, and just that catering company. I've been over there. I think we were picking up some food and watching that operation. Man, that was a going Jesse, and he's such a nice guy. His wife's nice, and he's retired from that now. But you had to have learned a whole lot about not just cooking, but about running a food operation.
Yeah, every day was different. I mean, we would do sandwich for 3 people and then turn around and do a wedding for 1,000 people.
Yeah.
There was no job too small or no job too big.
Yeah, right in North Little Rock. He had his kitchen right off of McCain.
Smoky Lane.
Yep, Smoky Lane. I think there might be a Raising Cane sitting at that corner now.
Yeah,
that's
pretty close.
Really cool. So what precipitated the move from, did you go from there to Fox Ridge? Or did you you got other restaurants in between? Or
I think there was a period where I left Simply the Best, went somewhere else, and then came back. I had opened up a restaurant for Judy Waller, ate a lot over in North Little Rock.
Oh, that's right, which was a good spot, kind of up on the hill.
Oh, yeah. So I was the opening chef there, learned a lot, and then after that, I went back and worked for Rob for another several years. And then just the Fox Ridge thing just kind of fell in my lap, and I was like,
the rest is really, it's seriously history.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Judy Waller was the founder and owner of U.S. Pizza, which is a small, not even that small, chain of pizza restaurants in Arkansas. And Adalots was a good spot. I think my memories were some kind of issues with a liquor license or something.
Yeah, so it's considered Park Hill, which is a part of North Little Rock.
Which was dry then. Yeah. They've wetted it up a little bit.
I think so, yeah.
I mean, I don't know that you can't. Yeah, so anyway. Wow, you've had a really amazing career, and again, what a great niche that you've carved out. Like you say, you work and learn and meet people, and you just never know where you end up.
That's true.
And the Adam Head, who's the CEO of CARTI, was in a senior position at the Heart Hospital. Obviously, was a fan of yours.
Well, the funny thing is, I met him while working at Fox Ridge.
Okay,
because he was a director at Heart Hospital, and he left and became a chief operating officer for Fox Ridge, and the gentleman that owned it, Rodney Thomason. So he kind of was overseeing a lot of his companies, and that's where I met Adam.
Yeah, and that's again two great.
Yeah.
Well, we all know, those of us who've been around, it's all about relationships.
It really is.
Yeah. Well, Coby, thanks a lot for being my guest today on Heaping Spoonful. Good luck with what you're doing at CARTI. I think I need to try to figure out when the ramen's happening, or not. Just come grab something and sit out on that patio and check it out.
I would love to have you.
Yeah, great. Well, thanks to everybody listening today. Remember, we post new episodes on the first and third Tuesday of each month, so check out some you missed, keep an eye out for new ones, and have a great rest of your day. Thanks, everybody.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Heaping Spoonful. On behalf of all of us at Benny Keith Foods, Mid-South Division, please know how much we love connecting you with the legends of the culinary scene and their unique stories. I look forward to the next time we can offer you another Heaping Spoonful.